Okay, everybody, so welcome back. This is Ian from Mindful Marketplace, and in this short series, we're going to cover what I think is the absolute easiest way of starting to sell digital downloads, even physical products online. And this is ideal for those of you who are in the mindfulness or therapeutic or helping healing spaces, as well as those who are interested in selling on Etsy or that sort of marketplace. And I really can't think of an easier strategy than the one I'm going to cover in this course. For those of you who are not part of the course, I'm just going to do a couple introductory videos on YouTube, and then we're going to have a 7-day course in our private LMS community, our private course community, where you'll go through all of this in real time, and you'll actually create your first product in 5 days that you can sell either on Etsy or Gumroad or your own website or Podia or Teachable or any sort of e-commerce platform that you choose, or all of them at the same time. And the other thing that you're going to get as part of this is I'm going to give you some of the templates themselves that I've bought that you can use right away to start this sort of business in a jiff. All right, so here is really, this is a Canva project file. Let me see if I can scroll down so you can see there are a bunch of different themes here, and this is just a small collection of the themes that we're using, but each one of these can be customized around a niche, or so whether it's mindfulness. In other words, our audience is very either entrepreneurial oriented or oriented around helping, healing, spiritual growth, mindfulness, etc., etc. So we have themes and templates that are geared for both. In this particular folder, as you'll see, most of this stuff is more oriented around the healing and affirmation space. So let's just take a look at these. So these are essentially cards that you can edit. This is a template that you can create your own professionally designed cards that you can sell either as digital downloads for folks, or you can actually sell with the intention of having folks print these out, which is what we do, right? So you want to be able to sell this as a digital download that people can actually print out at home or at their local Kinko's or whatever makes them happy. You don't have to actually do the printing yourself, but you can, and you can actually sell these sorts of cards as something you send out in the mail that you're actually embellishing with extra, packaging and, whatever else that you want to add to this, and then send these out as, kind of already done affirmation cards, mindfulness cards, ADD or anxiety cards, sleep cards, birthing cards, funny cards. I mean, there's a huge market for this sort of stuff, and it's really, really easy to do. So you can take this base template, for an example, and I can create as many of these as I want. You can start to change the color. You can, and again, I'm no designer. I'm a dummy when it comes to design, but you can be a dummy at design and do really fun, creative things with this sort of business. And there's really, I mean, this template right here, my computer never wants to play nice. This particular laptop, MacBook, is ready to die. But this, I mean, you can create as many of these as you want. And I mean, this is just one template that I could repurpose, with, and there's probably 100 cards in this, but I could do, 5, 10, 20 800 different variations of the messages on these cards for, let's say, a Wiccan community, a a uh, Christian community, a empath, or intuitive community. All those are really, really. Human design is something that's become very popular, that's I never even heard of until a couple people that I'm working with or had worked with earlier in the spring were working in those spaces, right? So there's all sorts of these kind of affirmation niches or self-help niches that this sort of approach is really, really ideal. And again, as you see, that's just one single template series, right? So here's another template series that's more like watercolor oriented. This is actually for teaching, like flashcards, right? So term concept on one side, definitions on another. So this could be anything. This could be, it could be entrepreneurial. It could be self-help. It could be geography, politics. It doesn't really matter. You can just copy this card, as you can see, and I could say, right, and then on the other side there would be a definition. And as many people know, the Supreme Court does a lot, as evidenced by the news these days. So, all of these sorts of cards are really, really easy to customize and create and do some really cool things with, as you can see here. Let's go back to my folders. And by the way, like, here are some other cards that are also equally, and this is a completely different set of cards for kids, right? So this is also really, really easy to customize. Every day is a fresh start. And these could be for children. You could do this for first graders, for third graders, for kindergarteners, for parents. Really, there is just no limit to how much fun and creativity that you can actually create with this sort of business, and it's really profitable. I mean, I know people who are doing really, really well with this sort of approach, and there's lots of other things that you can then do once you start to create these things. You can start selling templates, so you can actually not only create the cards themselves, but you can also create templates that you're selling to other people on Etsy or Gumroad or your own website, and quite literally build an entire creative empire of tiny affirmation cards that gives you can do consulting. I mean, everything that you can do in every other sort of niche, you can certainly do with something like this. The other thing, of course, that you can do that really brought me into this universe is workbooks and workshops and ebooks and checklists and resource guides. Like, that was really the bridge that kind of led me into inquiring with some of my clients who are doing really, really well, in particular on Etsy, back in the beginning of 2022, when I was talking to some people who were doing ridiculous amounts of volume of digital downloads in this sort of model. And I was getting advice on workbooks and things like that I was also using on Canva or building using Canva. And then, some of these folks who are in my entrepreneurial orbit were essentially just telling me how much fun they were having even simplifying it more than workbooks. So I was buying and creating workbook templates for our own community, for mindfulness-based meditations and entrepreneurial advice and that sort of thing. And then some of the folks who I was kind of in conversation with were telling me, if you think that's fun or you think that's easy, this is even easier, right? I actually had somebody, I don't even know if she did these particular ones, but I actually had, you probably can't see this part of my screen, but she actually did, I think, do these because it says copy for kids and M and I, and that's, obviously I'm Ian, but the person who worked on this is M, right? A virtual assistant who I actually had just build some, create some of these. So I think she actually did these. I'm not 100% sure. Um, but I basically said just like come up with little statements or little affirmations on the cards as you see fit. So just take the pictures and correspond them with whatever you think is appropriate to write there. And she did a bunch of these cards that we ended up putting on Gumroad and things like that. And making sales. I mean, like making sales on autopilot. Like I'm not even attending to that piece of our platform. And essentially, I'm really giving a lot of these away because I want to, use them as lead magnets and things like that to cultivate relationships with people in the mindfulness, teaching, writing, self-publishing spaces. Anyway, if you're interested in doing this, it's very, very easy. I have probably bought $500 worth of templates and themes that I'll be giving away as part of this course, so that you can actually get a really, really quick head start on this. The next cohort begins next week. It's the first couple days of July, I believe. I think the 3rd, actually, I think it's the 5th of July that our next cohort begins, where you'll go through a 5-day process where you'll actually create your first set of cards. You'll have them up for sale, and you will know exactly how to get traffic and all those other things, which are clearly important to know as well. Okay, teach what you know, do what you love, wake up the world with your work. If you're interested in learning more about the next cohort, where I'll have all of the sort of step-by-step kind of interactive support for those of you who want to really kind of build this out, I'll put a link in YouTube. And if you're actually watching this in our course community, you can see where the next course or cohort launches in the community comments below. Thanks so much, and as always, have a wonderful day.